Hello, everyone. Welcome to ChiNet, where we learn from builders before the machines take over. And I'm Rachit Magan, your host. And today we're diving into one of the most critical yet overlooked aspects of the AI revolution in which we're in. Who's actually checking if these systems are safe, fair, and working as we intended them to be? Meet Parth Mukul Gupta. At just 23, he's the founder and CEO of Stix. He's building testing and evaluation platforms for agentic AI systems. He's had multiple failed startups. I think that's true for all of us. Worked as a consultant at EY and is now running a company that could determine whether AI agents really work or not. You see, while everyone has been racing to either build the next smartest AI or build the next ChatGPT wrapper, Parth chose to be the person who asks the hard questions. Is AI safe? Is AI biased? Will AI actually do what we want it to do, or will it go ahead and conquer the world? Or will it just be buggy and end up costing us $1 million? Parth, welcome to China. Can we start with a small introduction of yourself and Sticks?
Surely, Rachit. First of all, thanks a lot for having me, Rachit. It's always awesome to talk to you. I'm really happy and excited about this conversation. So, a small introduction about me. I'm Parth Mukul Gupta. I am the founder and CEO of Stix, where we are trying to build the agentic testing infrastructure for fast-moving AI teams right now. And that's a quick one about me, Rachit.
Great, thank you so much. Now let's just get down to our conversation. So there's something which keeps me up at night. That once when I read of what you were building and of AI testing, AI governance, all of that, I started doing some research, and I saw that there have been things which actually government is doing, or there have been policies which are trying to somehow make sense of the whole chaos which agentic AI is causing. Like, for example, there's the EU AI Act, which can fine companies up to 35 million pounds for
Absolutely.
euros, right? And then Tesla is having a criminal investigation for their AI. A lot of organizations say that governance is critical, but there are very few that have basic, even like basic oversight, right? And
Yep.
that's governance. And even that goes the same for testing as well, right? That we've been deploying crazy AI systems in all huge SaaS products, but at the end of the day, do you think that we're actually already too late to do to have such things in place?
Rajat, honestly, you are not wrong, and this is exactly why we do something that what we do right now. And if we talk about the reality landscape, we are already late to the game. Think about it. Everyone is racing to get to know what the next AI tool is going to be, but there are very few people asking how do we test it before it goes live. And just
Exactly.
imagine this: a few months ago, Tesla self-driving cars were under criminal investigation after a series of unintended accidents. Right now,
Right.
these were AI systems that had been live in the world right now, operating in real time with people trusting them to drive safely. But who was there to test their behavior at scale before going live? That's the fact that nobody. That's where the concept of sticks came to us right now. We cannot wait for those failures to happen. We have to scramble the solution right now, and it's like waiting for a fire to happen so that we go and buy a fire extinguisher. So that's like the theory we cannot wait for, and that's exactly why we started building sticks.
Right. No, that's very true, and but it's actually very hard to test an AI system, right? Like, it's like
Absolutely.
I myself have we've been using AI in Airif, but it's almost impossible to actually know that whether it'll behave as intended or not.
Yep. Absolutely, that's like a very true thing. In fact, the entire industry across the different horizon, different verticals, everyone is facing the same issue because after all, it's a probabilistic model. It's a black box. That's the reason it's called a black box. You
Right.
cannot go and ask it why the decision came and how it is coming. So you're
Right.
trying to make it deterministic at scale right now, at least to justify the actions being taken and try to predict and debug the problems and the failure point that is happening right
Mhm.
now.
True. That's true. We need to somehow make it a little deterministic, right? Like, for example,
Absolutely.
what I also read that apparently Amazon had a hiring AI, and it was discriminating against women, and no one
Yep.
even no one knew about it, right? Like, it just
Yep.
kept on doing that for I think years,
Yep.
without even knowing, yeah, right? And even there's this case of McDonald's where the AI tried to sell hundreds of nuggets. And
Yep.
but of course, these are we can call them edge cases, but at the end of the day, like you said, right, these are deployed systems. And I'm sure Amazon and McDonald's and these Tesla and they must be doing some sort of testing. But how do you actually test for such sort of failures, which nobody even thought that something like that can happen, apart from of course trying to make it deterministic. Like how do you do that? Like, what's the magic
Okay.
behind the scenes?
Surely. So let's go a little deeper towards one of the conversations that you mentioned.
Right,
Let's talk about McDonald's AI chatbot, which
right,
ordered hundreds of nuggets when no one asked for them right now. That's some
right,
kind of very big blunder right now that happened. And the thing is, McDonald's never anticipated this kind of behavior from the system. And here's the kicker, someone had already tested the system, like you already mentioned, someone was already doing it at a scale. But the problem with that, but it was already a very limited scope of testing. They never ran real world scenarios to simulate what could have gone wrong. And honestly, it's not even the fault of the testers who are doing that. They have no, I would say, historic production data to predict this is the type of behavior that's going to happen. And that's like where the problem comes in. We have to simulate all the edge cases. And that's exactly what at stakes trying. There's nothing fancy right now. We are no wizards. We are just like smart engineers trying to build something deterministic at this point. And what we offer a different software, we do a multi-step agentic testing. And we focus specifically on that, not just can this agent answer this, but what happens when the agent is forced to make decision in ambiguous high pressure scenarios right now. So we stress this the AI system just like a car would have crash tested before hitting the road. That's
right,
exactly what we try to do with the AI system. Because after all, at this point of time, AI systems are even more closer than we using a car in our daily life right now. So if we were involved in this scenario, we would have seen McDonald's AI would have been overwhelmed by a complex input,
right,
and we would have soft failures before it went public. Think about it. What happened with the Amazon AI thing that you rightly mentioned? This was one of the biggest news which came out in 2023 that Amazon
right,
had a bias in AI system. That too so many years ago, right now.
right,
So if Amazon is hiring with the help of an AI that actually discriminates against women right now, was it tested for bias and fairness at a scale of production environments right now? It's
right,
not about testing for things you didn't think about. It's about finding hidden failure points that nobody can predict until it's too late right now. So that's like the whole thing we have. And I think this is also the need of regulations and governance that's coming up. There's
right,
so many tons and tons of regulations. This happened due to the New York Local Law 144 coming in place back in 2021, where no one was talking about AI systems to be regulated. They were already there trying to pass a bill. And I would say that kudos to all the executors of the bill right now for trying to have it. Same happened with the European AI Act, like you mentioned in the starting of our conversation.
right,
35 million pounds is the reason why people will get a little more aware that there's something we should start working on. Not more on the societal impact, but at least on the financial impact the company has to face. So
right.
that is something right now. That's it.
Right. No, that's yeah. So there have been a lot of governance which has been coming up. Do you think that there's something like that happening in India as well? Like I've not heard of any sort of regulation.
I would say mistakes and errors and failure points are definitely happening right now. We saw
Huh.
it real life in so many of our prospect and clients right now we are talking to, but on ground there's haven't been news covering that. That's I think the only reason. I think if you remember in 2020 February there was a massive news. Google Gemini lost $100 million dollars in the market cap. If you remember, there's a meme floating around. Mother Teresa
Right.
fighting poverty. Someone gave a prompt to Gemini to generate an image of Mother Teresa fighting poverty, and what in return it did was create a real picture of mother fighting someone, some kids of African descent right
Hmm.
now,
Right.
properly fighting right now. And
Huh.
that became a big meme right now. And
Right.
that kind of reputational damage is which a company should never face across. I think
True.
that is something that already happened in India also, multiple scenarios, but that never became that kind of big news right now. But it might happen in the next few, I would say, not even years, months, I would say. This might have become the new big thing. Yeah.
Right. Right. I think I just lost you there
Yeah, yeah.
for
Even
like.
now.
Right.
Perfect.
But yeah, that's true. So yeah, so I think there have been a lot of incidences, but I think that and there's been definitely some news coverage, but I think the problem is much more deeper.
Yeah.
And what I think, all of this is happening. All of these major incidences like took place in 2023, 2024. Parth, are you there?
Yeah, but that's it. I'm there.
Super, super.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want to understand is that AI evaluation, as you said, we try to make things deterministic. We basically try to kind of create data sets which have some static inputs and outputs. But now coming to actual agentic AI systems, right, where you have like different agent loops and lots of chaos going on to actually end up to to a actual end answer. They can exhibit some emergent behaviors, right? Like it's not that
Absolutely.
you have a clear input clear output, right? So हाँ मतलब अब ऐसी चीज जो अब ये तो वैसी बात हो गई, राइट, कि आप एक स्टूडेंट है, आपको उसको ग्रेड करना है, बट उसका मतलब क्वेश्चन पेपर ही डिफाइंड नहीं है, वो उसमें इंग्लिश का भी एग्जाम, इंग्लिश भी हो सकता है, मैथ्स भी हो सकता है,
Absolutely.
the question paper itself is not defined, but you have to evaluate it. How do you do that?
Correct.
Or in the future, what do you think that how would these things get done?
You are spot on, Rachel. Like this is the exact state that me and Prakar, my co-founder, were there like 6 months beforehand. This is something we cannot do right now. It's totally out of scope. We don't know what the output is going to come. मैं कैसे करूँ Prakar? And we used to just, I would say, shoot this thought across each other. But this is
Right.
the exact problem that I thought would be something challenging enough. And the problem we are facing is exactly this still now. Post the 6 months also across all the research articles that have been published, be it OpenAI, be it Anthropic, all the top companies that have been working on. So if I give you an analogy for the listeners also to understand a little better, traditional AI testing is like testing a car with the same route, same speed, perfect weather, everything going absolutely perfect in your hypothetical scenario. But agentic AI system, think LLMs are more like a self-driving car that has
Right.
to deal with constant changes in traffic, new roadblocks, weather changes, Bangalore traffic, for example. Sometimes it happens on that.
Mm,
Sometimes it's a rain in the situation. And how do you evaluate something unpredictable? Well, the answer is exactly on the same line. So we cannot do the same thing that was happening with chatbot before AI systems were very popular. We
true.
cannot do the same things. And what we need to do is we need to simulate how AI will interact with real world data. That's exactly the only way we can do it. Once we create a perfect scenario where all the entropy of everything hypothetical that will happen, create that and make the agent perform in that scenario, that's exactly how the agent is going to learn. We are able to observe how the agent is going to perform, and that's exactly we'll understand where the failure points are acting like, and we can debug the situations. So we look at how agents adapt to new situations, how they react to previously unseen inputs, and test them in environments that mimic chaotic and real world use cases. We don't wait for the agents to break down and give them a
Right.
log that this is how it happened. We try to break it before it try to break us. That's like the theory.
Wow. So that's almost, you have to create like, for example, in a self-driving car use case, you have to create all possible things which can go wrong, and
Yep.
then try to simulate and see that where the agentic AI system actually breaks, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes we had discussion. I will just add a small point over here that is it really required to do that kind of stress testing for an
Hmm.
agent system right now? But the answer just came out very simple. The damage in terms of reputational, operational, or even regulatory is that high that this has to be one kind of situation that everyone has to go ahead with. Because
Exactly.
agents are going to be in the next 5 to 10 years a daily part of life. We cannot have even a small percentage of error happening in that. So, yeah,
True, that's very true. And even like, especially with the access of MCPs and tools, things are
yeah,
going to go wild, right? Like
absolutely.
it the whole scenario is just gonna like, it can actually wreak havoc. That's what, if
Exactly.
gone wrong.
it, technology is evolving at a speed that no one has been able to predict right now. And even the engineers have never came across these scenarios, how to even predict what's going to be happening. So everything is new. Everyone is on the same page right now. Everyone wants to keep learning. All across the field, I see, be it like a 56-year-old Bitsin who has passed out, already successful in this business right now, still wants to get PhD. What's the new article that Anthropic has published about MCP? I want to learn that. Be it like a 16-year-old, my younger brother, who's trying to understand key, what is the CI system, that's try to play it. Everyone's on the same page. Everything is happening similar to every single person, and it's the best time to
Uh,
play with this. We are, I believe, you are talking to my friends right now that this is the right time to be. We are witnessing all this right in front of our eyes, and I think this, I would say, podcast and this episode is also very important. Like we had a discussion, Rachel. Post this, there will be a totally new world. Looking back at this, we
right.
can discuss that what we were predicting right now.
Exactly, exactly. And that's when we would want to go back and see that, okay, ये पार्थ
Yep.
ने बोला था 6 साल पहले पार्थ ने बोला था ये होगा.
Yep.
Exactly. No, that's true. And it's also like, as you said, that be it a 56-year-old ex CEO who's exited and done everything, be it a
Yep.
16-year-old and everyone in the middle, we're all at the same page, and
Absolutely.
that's very interesting. It's a bit scary for the people who thought that they have now like they now reached the highest level of engineering and all of that. And it's also a very big eye opener because all of us need to be on our toes. Like, um, if I speak to doctors, then they say that we have to study continuously. And I know I have a lot of doctors in my family. Like, I think I'm the only one in engineering from my family.
Yep.
So but I tell them, देखो आप जो भी करो, आप human body तो नहीं बदल रही ना आपकी. मतलब I agree that you
Absolutely.
have to study a lot because you're also dealing with very critical systems. But at the end, in our domain, study is completely different because the human body itself changes every 1 year.
Correct. Absolutely.
So very interesting. But so tell me a bit about your journey. Like I saw your LinkedIn, and a lot of people whom I have spoken to, like 15 years in the industry, done a lot of startups. Usually, they try to present their failures as either successes or minor successes or exits. कि मतलब ऐसा होता है. I know people who actually given their companies and said that we've gotten acquired and all of those things. Even and especially coming from the Web3 world, we've seen that a lot, that failures have been presented as successes. And then tried, and especially on LinkedIn, where
Yep. Yep.
and you've seen all the memes kiya chota sa bhi hota hai. If we've gone to the loo also, then that's a post that, okay, we it was a great success today. So
Yep.
what about your failures? I've seen that you built first you started building a CFO co-pilot, you built a compliance platform, a product studio. You actually end up wearing your failures as badges, which is amazing. Now coming to your current situation, right? So what was that moment that while you working with your product studio or your co-pilot, what was the moment when you realized that it's not about building AI, it's about testing and evaluating and and going to the other side of the AI game?
Absolutely, that's it. Like great question. I was just trying to remember all my college journey, like throughout it happened.
Right.
Like since like second year, me, my bunch of friends, my wingmates. I would like to name them Aditya Pathak, Prakhar Kumar, Aryan Verma. We used to brainstorm so much right now. Let's build something, let's call it Nikal. We had so many visionaries in front of us from our same college. They have done excellent. So I would like just like let's build something. And in our previous startups, I would say we were so much focused on creating an AI solution that we never stopped to ask, is this actually working in a real world environment? The
Right.
moment I realized that the real world problem wasn't AI development, but it's AI deployment at scale. That's where we started working on our CFO pilot. I think that was where a lot of learning came as me
Right.
and Prakhar were trying to decipher it. And I would like to claim that we had one of the best algorithms. But when it came to time for clients to use it, it failed in unexpected ways right now. And
Right.
clients actually didn't get the right insights that AI could predict right now. So that's something which was relevant to us. And that's when we realized right now that building as a model is the one thing and ensuring it works in real life is what really matters. And that's where Stix was born to solve reliability issues for AI. And that honestly gave us a real click. And when we were talking to so many folks around I would say, the Valley, all our seniors, all our circuit folks right now who are in this field, we were like, this is a common problem. This is not something happening. And there were so many beautiful AI solutions. Like Prakhar was working on a solution. He was using satellite data to work on geospatial imaging right now. And it was a beautiful tool.
Amazing.
Me and Prakhar added points on that. But honestly, it just got stalled in pilot. He was working for the government of India at that point of time, and they were trying to sell it to a prospect, and they just completely dumped the entire prospect because how can I rely the output? And that was a big question. So that's when we started coming together, and this is where it started like sticks that this is a very big problem. And honestly, it came out of frustration. That's it.
Yeah.
Tool बनाया हमने, सारी मेहनत करी. Now it's not going to the
Right,
next step.
yes.
All these roadblocks are coming out of nowhere. अब कैसे solve करें ना? So this is a common problem. Let's solve it for them once and for all.
True, man. That's very true, and that's what I've also faced. That when we work with agentic AI systems, it's so hard. At the moment you move away from your content creation and ये सब जो low these low mission critical things. The moment you move away
Absolutely.
from that, it's so difficult. And it's just that you can see that when it's working well, it's amazing. But
Yep.
when it fails, and you're like, what now? How do I fix this? And
And the cost of failure is so high, Rachit, right now.
yeah.
Every company, so what 70% enterprise have adopted AI system. But again, the same three low effort things right now. Customer experience max to max right
Mm,
now. some kind of easy thing right now, but never in the business critical things right now. And
Right.
honestly, we were very bullish about AI. This is where AI systems should come in business critical
Hmm.
things, and that's exactly where let's build on.
Right. But do you think if they're well tested and if eventually, let's say in a couple of years or months, or what is your timeline? Like, what do you think? When do you think that we can start employing agentic AI frameworks or agentic AI systems for business critical applications?
I
When?
think if it's very well tested in the right scenario, I think it's today now. If the system is thoroughly tested, if you can predict that this is how it's going to perform, because after all, the edge cases are exceptional that happen sometimes. But once you
Right.
understand the SOP, the happy flow for the entire process the end user is going to through, you can easily predict that these are the scenarios which can be simulated. And if it performs perfectly across all of them, it's a perfect time to go and employ that. But yeah, talking about like a mass scale, it's going to take a time. Again, it's totally depends because it's a culture problem. I would say a lot of times it's not about
Right.
tool or technology at all. It's more about the people who are using it. So that's something.
No, that's true. I agree. It's also about how you're reacting to an AI system, right? Like
Yep.
like what is your risk appetite as well
Yep.
as a
In
business.
fact, like I would just like to add a saying right now. I think Dipender Goel mentioned sometimes right now that culture eats strategy for breakfast
Yeah,
right now. This
I
happens
saw
pretty
that.
strong.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So, what I'm understanding is that you're saying that okay, evaluation and testing and
Yep.
making sure that things work well, and from what you said that you have to make sure that you have to somehow create systems where you can actually test, like you can create environments where you have those corner cases and then you test the system. So, but essentially, you're telling companies to take a break, slow down, check whether your systems are working well or not. And basically, Steve Jobs का quote था कि move fast
Yep.
and break things. Or of
Yep.
course now the definition is very different, because when you break things, you break huge things. You don't just break like a table or a glass. But still, like, how do you sell caution, if I may use that word, caution in this market, which is actually going at very high speed and rewarding speed? How do you do that?
Absolutely. Honestly, Rachit, it's not easy to sell. It's a very tough sell. You just pointed our pain point right now. But honestly, here's the thing right now, which we are very clear about in our heads right now.
Mhm.
Speed without validations leads to chaos completely.
Mm.
And I always tell company with utmost transparency, what we do is we try to take one of their agentic systems right now and do a very normal minimal. It's not even heavy testing, just a very normal testing on based on like 250, 300 prompt scenario right now that an end user might do. Just show them the results. And surprisingly, even the top company, I won't like to list any name right now, but even the top companies failed multiple times. That
Mm.
performance is not at all optimum or something that they claim right now. Moving faster of testing isn't just risky, it's also expensive because we already talk about. So I always talk about the risk is not just about, I would say, timing that is missing out, but these are three type of risks that we always talk about. Operational, system nahi chalega, regulatory, if there's any fine that comes out. But the last one is the most important one, reputational right now. If
Right.
that is something that comes on your reputation right now, it's going to destroy it completely. And
Mm.
one single failure of production can set you back months, lose your customers, get caught in reputation crisis right now. Speed is definitely important. We are also very bullish for speed at six right now, but if you are only speeding towards something that's reliable and well tested, so that's exactly what. So what we sell right now, we sell a smart speed testing upfront right now, fixing the problem before they happen, so that speed doesn't come at the expense of trust. And in fact, right now, if I tell you the vision that we see, we want to do something that Jenkins did for the software development industry. We
Mm.
want to create a CI/CD kind of layer right now, where execution is something that we don't want to be a roadblock for any company.
Right.
Pre-deploy, pre-production, and during production, we want to be the perfect set of team right now. That you do whatever you want to do, I'll make sure everything comes out reliable. That's exactly the piece of the puzzle you want to build upon.
True. That's a very nice analogy, right? Jenkins changed the game when they launched, and
Yep.
yeah, like we don't have a Jenkins in the AI agentic AI world right now. So
Yep.
I think that's a very interesting vision, and that's a very I see the market gap now when you're actually talking about it. But tell me something, like you said that, as you said that that your people are more important, and that's what I've also been seeing while I'm talking to so many people, so many people in leadership roles in different companies trying to adopt AI or not adopt AI. What I've seen is that most of these challenges, and especially AI implementation as well as AI governance and testing and all of this, these are organizational. These are not technical, as you said. That people
Absolutely.
resist change. Executives might not understand the risks which you're seeing. Like maybe for them reputation is comes under the under a different department. We are tech. We need to move forward, and or
Yep.
maybe it can also be like teams who are just protecting their job and their turf, right?
Right.
So, like of course, coming from bits, I know that you can build the perfect tech evaluation testing platform that I think all of us have been taught. But if people don't want to use it, how do you that does that make your vision and mission a bit difficult?
Absolutely. Like honestly, that is you are 100% right in that point of time. And this really happens. But I think at subconsciously, even the board, even the executive, even the decision makers are well aware about that speed that we are going ahead is risky. In fact, that is one of the reason why you will notice, like I already mentioned, all the AI use cases in less, I would say, what do we call that? Less problematic scenarios, like where the cost of failure is very minimal. Where the cost of failure is very high, they are also very pragmatic that this is not something I can go in the speed right now. And you're very true. No matter how good your tech is, people don't want to use it or don't understand its importance. Not going to work at all. And
Right.
that's exactly we never see us as a just like a company that's going to sell tech at all. We try
Hmm.
to sit with the team. We try to understand their problem statements. We try to understand where are they coming from. What's the right business problem they want to solve for? How can we convey it somehow they understand an analogy? So that's like the kind of thing. And I'm very confident and very optimistic in that point of time in the future where companies are well about deploying a solution because of all the awareness of the failures that we see across the world. There are going to be people who are going to be well aware, and selling them wouldn't be this difficult like it is now, right now. So that's things we have seen that when leaders understand long term benefits right now of early testing and the risk of not doing it, it's a lot easier for us to implement these solutions.
Right, right. And then, of course, there are these cases happening, like I think it was 2024 or 2023, where where there was this Air Canada's chatbot that that gave wrong information,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then but they were sued, and then they said
Yep.
that no, the chatbot is a different legal entity. We are not responsible for what the chatbot is saying. But I think they lost the case, if I'm not wrong. I think they
Yep.
lost the case, right?
They
So
lost the case. It was one of the biggest news all across Forbes, BBC, all the
right,
top news outlet. Everyone's talking about the Air Canada mishap. Even at
yeah,
6, we pushed out a detailed case study talking just about Air Canada, what happened, what the
hmm,
people. We interviewed a lot of folks in that point of time. We just
right,
went all in at this point because this was the pinnacle of the rise of governance when we saw. This
exactly.
was the reason when everyone became conscious that. So what happened? If I just give you a little more context,
Hmm.
the chatbot hallucinated and
Right.
created a new policy of refund policy that never existed in documents. That's a very common rack problem
Yeah,
that the
yes,
system
of
had.
course. Yes.
And it said to end user that yes, you have a $800 refund policy active for
Hmm.
you, and I will refund it to you. And when
Hmm.
it came back to the staff that I want my $800 in refund, well, this is nothing like that. We don't have how. And he had all the proofs. What he did was push it across the internet. Now, once it's on the internet, it's in every feeds person.
Right.
So that's exactly what happened, and they lost the case right now. But right now, what they have done that they became a pinnacle for everyone else to become a little cautious, and that's like the good thing out of it.
Right. Right. And that makes the the whole AI governance and testing and all of that even more like it makes a mission a bit easier if
Yep.
if even if it's a little. But yeah. Right. I think that's very eye-opening, and this is one place which we don't often, we don't often find a lot of founders trying to target, because I think, the moment you pivot into AI, I'm saying pivot into AI because there's so many founders now pivoting into AI. But the moment
Every
you
company is an AI company now.
yes, every company is an AI company. So the moment you do that, I think the first thing is that chal ek content creator tool bana lete hain. And
Yep.
what you're targeting is like what you're building and what you're trying to achieve is something which is very well thought of, and it is something which is coming from your own pain. So that's very interesting. One last question.
Yep.
This is more related to your work at Sticks, and and what you're fighting for, or what your mission is. That 5 years from now, right, when there are AI agents in mission critical systems, managing maybe insurances, finances, healthcare, career, everything.
Absolutely.
What do you want people to remember about your work at Sticks?
Nice. That's perfect question. So, yeah, we thought over it. Like, this is something that we want to do. As I already mentioned, like the analogy we want to go forward with, like Jenkins
Right.
provided a revolution in its industry. I
Yes.
was not there to witness it even happen before when I started touching my laptop at this point of time. But that was a revolution that almost every engineer was very happy about. So I want to see Sticks to be remembered as a company that made reliability testing a non-negotiable part of every agent's lifecycle.
Awesome.
When AI is making decisions about your finance, health, job opportunities, day-to-day application right now, I want to people to say, look back and say that Sticks made sure it's safe. Sticks made sure I can use it every single day without any fear right now. And Sticks help the foundation of testing and accountability for AI systems. So that's like the vision that we are working for, and that's something we are very confident that we are going to achieve in this next 5 to 10 years of marathon that we are trying to do for.
Amazing, amazing. And you're right, it's a marathon for sure.
Yeah.
It's a long battle. It's not something which is gonna, come in the next 4 months or 6 months, because it's a hard problem to solve, honestly. But yeah, I think that's our time. Thank you so much. And for everyone, guys, thank you so much for listening. And that's once again Parth Mukul Gupta, founder and CEO of Sticks. And he's teaching us that someone needs to grade the machines before they start grading us. And
Absolutely.
yeah, you can find him building AI's report card you know, while trying to solve for his mission. And yeah, thank you so much, Parth, once more.
Thank you, Rachit. It was a pleasure having being here right now. It's always fun interacting with you. That's before we end. I just had a one question I wanted to ask you regarding that. That's it. Looking ahead, I want to know your prediction as AI continues to evolve and becoming so much more integrated into our everyday lives. What do you think is going to be the more unexpected new thing that's going to happen, and something that you feel is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years right now?
So I think, to be honest, I have been because I interact with so many, people from leadership, as well as a lot of people from the junior, from who are just passing out, third years, fourth years, who keep reaching out to me for some mentorship and for all of that. So I've been reading and studying a lot about how jobs will change, and I think that's something which I have been personally very interested in trying to understand that. And I
Right.
feel that that is going to be impacted in a very big way, and much much more than we can imagine. Maybe it's a net positive in the sense that maybe we end up like the industry overall is giving out more pay, or the net is positive in terms of the money giving out. But
Okay.
there's this whole batch of thousands and thousands of engineers who not really were not meant to be engineers, who just just that Indian middle class, which is basically does their engineering from a
Yep.
tier 2 tier 3 college, and then they're trying to just live by in working for any of these consultancy companies. And they're not really interested, but they're there because they've been forced by parents. So I think all of that will vanish. And I honestly am still trying to figure out where will that class go. And
Yep.
but yeah, like engineering, I think will become something similar to what pilots are today. I think engineers
Okay.
will do that, because you see, like in the whole operation of an airplane, there are
Yep.
at least 200 people employed, right?
Correct.
There's just one pilot, or maybe two pilots, right? One pilot and one co-pilot, and everyone
Yep.
else is basically just trying to support their job. In our case, I think it would be the same, that there'll probably be like one architect and one engineer, and there'll be like these agents which are basically just supporting the job, right? So, but you have to be very skilled, very specific. So I think that is one thing which is about to change very fast. I think it's already changing, but maybe we're still not seeing the impact. But I still don't know where will that middle class go, and that's what honestly scares me. That they need to be prepared.
Yeah, a pretty bold, I would say, prediction. Ian, I agree with you completely on this lines now. It's going to be very interesting to see how it's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. But like the only thing that I would say is everyone needs to be prepared. Everyone needs
Yes.
to be aware. They cannot sit idle right now in this space. All right,
Yes.
Ajay, thanks for answering my question.
Thank you so much, Parth, and lovely talking to you as always. And keep building,
Likewise.
and we'll stay connected.
Absolutely. That's it.
All right, bye
Thank you,
bye.
Rachit.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye,
Thank
Rachit. Take care.
you too.